Please be seated. So I had a long time, Wednesday and Thursday, Friday this week, to watch some TV. And what I experienced, at least what sort of crossed the threshold of my awareness, was just the barrage of commercials that were saying, okay, Black Friday is coming, don't miss out on these sales, you gotta come get up off that sofa and go shop. In fact, there was one commercial that said, you know, this is the latest Thanksgiving can occur, and we've lost 6 days of Christmas shopping, so you need to get on it right now. The guy was like jumping out of the screen. I don't even know what he was trying to sell. I didn't want it, but I know that my heart was kind of racing a little bit. Like I got infected by this sort of animation, you know? Right now. Sales don't last forever. Come on, we still have these products. They won't be on the shelves forever. Whatever the language was, it was all to kind of heighten my anxiety, you know? Make me afraid that I was going to miss out on that Ronco gift that slices and dices that I can't live without. And I thought to myself, okay, so when did we become a culture of people that so use anxiety and fear as a means of persuasion and motivation? When did that happen? It became just commonplace, you know? I mean, I know that those of you who have engaged in parenting like I have, I know that you've engaged in a little fear-mongering of yourself. It's like, put that stick down or else you might poke someone's eye out with that thing, right? I mean, I've tried that, or no, you can't go into the pool for half an hour after you've eaten, otherwise you're going to cramp and drown. I mean, and I don't know, it doesn't work for me. Does it work for you? No. So I know we've done the fear-mongering, and I've been aware for the last several political cycles that our politicians have sort of engaged in that tactic as well. You elect this guy, you will ruin the country forever. You approve this legislation, the Affordable Care Act, and it will bankrupt this country, and there'll be death panels deciding on when you should die. That kind of stuff, you know? All that stuff to make us afraid, makes us anxious. And now commercial advertising. So I was sort of stewing on all that anxiety and fear stuff when I sat down to look at the gospel for today. And don't you know, it's like Jesus is getting into fear-mongering as well. Did you hear this? I mean, here we are entering Advent. It's this lovely, warm, sort of lush season of reflection. It's cozy. And Jesus is just giving us all this doom and gloom stuff. He talks about Noah, which, in case you don't remember, that story didn't end so well for most, you know, unless you had 2 tickets on the Love Boat, it was not a good story. It wasn't, right? And then he said, all right, and then 2 will be working, and 1 will be taken up, and 1 will be left behind. 2 women will be grinding meal in the field, and 1 will be taken up, and 1 will be left behind. And don't you know, when people were hearing that, they looked at each other and went, was it you or me? You know? It's crazy. It's fear-inducing. The disciples who are sitting there listening to Jesus, they must have been made anxious by these sort of warnings. What is this about? William Sloane Coffin was a chaplain at Yale for years and years. He's one of my most favorite voices from the 20th century. And he said, fear can ruin our lives. He's right. When we get seized by fear, we're just not at our best. We're more suspicious. We're closed down. We're less flexible. We're less open to other people's ideas. We're certainly less generous and less kind. Fear doesn't bring out the best in any of us, does it? The Black Sunday advertising and the anxiety and fear that stirred. And then you read some of the news stories about what happened on Friday. So in New Jersey, it was New Jersey, so, you know, understandable. But in New Jersey, just kidding, I'm sorry. Okay, but in New Jersey, this guy got into a fight with another guy over a TV only to find that the other guy was a police officer, so he got arrested for assaulting a police officer. True story, right? 3 people standing in line, waiting for an item, got into a fight with some other people because they were cutting in line. Are you kidding? Are we back in like junior high now? And one guy in I think it was West Virginia, ended up getting cut by a knife because he pulled a gun on the guy with the knife who was taking the last parking spot in the shopping mall. How's this fear thing working out for us to start, happening? Fear just clouds us, doesn't help us. And so I read this gospel and I'm like, okay, so Jesus, I get it. You want us to be awake. And it seems like you want us to be awake to fear, but what's awake? Is there something we should be feeling or doing besides being afraid? Keep awake, great, and then what? So I'm sitting there when I don't like the gospel, I look at the other readings that we've got, And I'm looking at Paul's letter to Rome. And I actually had the Bible. I wasn't just looking at the lesson. And so I happened to read a few verses that come before the verses that we read on Paul today. And there is maybe the then what? If we're awake, then what? Because Paul says, and it's not in your program, sorry, it's not. Paul says, love one another. And you heard him nothing. Love one another. Love one another. Now, maybe that's what we're supposed to be doing while we're waiting for this Advent season. I mean love like you never loved before. I mean love in some crazy kind of way. Not some sort of syrupy, sentimental kind of way. Love in a way that's risky and scary. And that'll keep you awake. Love in a way that's more generous than it's ever been before. If we loved in a way that is generous, then maybe we catch a glimpse of Christ. Maybe we know just how generous Christ was. If we love someone that we didn't particularly like, then maybe we catch a glimpse of Christ. Maybe we know how patient Christ is. If we love someone who didn't look like us, who didn't think like us, who didn't smell like us, who didn't live like us, then maybe we catch a glimpse of Christ and know about Christ's compassion. If we love someone not because they were nice to us, but because it was the right thing to do, if we love someone without strings attached, then maybe we could catch a glimpse of Christ and His grace. I'm not talking about love like it's an emotion. I'm saying love like it's a calling. Love like it's a challenge to action. So that we love someone that it's hard to love. So that we love someone that we might not even know is there. That's the kind of love that will keep us awake forever. That's the kind of love that makes your heart race, but for all the right reasons. I mean, do you remember how awake you were that first time you fell in love when you just couldn't sleep? I think that's the kind of love that keeps us awake. There's another line in Scripture where it says, perfect love cures fear. From 1 John. Perfect love cures fear. Maybe this season of Advent, we can love a bit more perfectly. And if we can, maybe this season of Advent, we can cure just a little bit of that fear. Because God knows you sure need less fear.